Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 77 of Preston Jensen's podcast. If you're new here, I'm your host, Preston. This week, you have to talk about the Mavic 3. I've got a lot of content on this channel, on this YouTube channel, and this podcast about drones. I've talked a lot about my drone company, and so obviously I have to dedicate an episode all about or dedicated to the Mavic 3 and whether or not I'll be buying it. Would I love to? Absolutely. For the price, it is very expensive, but it's one of those things, you get what you pay for. Actually, the night of the release, I was trying to do a kind of like a live stream, kind of like a reaction video, and it wouldn't have been live, I guess, so I couldn't say live stream, but I was just going to have my live reaction, have it recorded, put it onto YouTube, and have kind of a special podcast episode, but unfortunately, I was having some technical difficulties where any audio coming through the computer wasn't working, or things weren't working with Ecamm Live. A lot of you probably have an answer for that on why it was choppy, but the second I would quit Ecamm Live, the audio sounded good, so I thought, you know what? Every once in a while, it's kind of nice to just enjoy something. I've talked about how I love the keynote presentations from Apple. I've never really watched a full presentation from DJI. I guess I probably did for like the Mavic Air and the Mavic 2 Zoom, Mavic 2. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to forget about filming. I'm going to just enjoy this presentation. And it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of things that I liked. There was some things that I was kind of disappointed about. And luckily, their website does a great job of showing off all those features. So tonight, I thought it would be fun to kind of walk through the specs and stuff about the Mavic 3. If you're just listening to this, I'll maybe cover some things you didn't know about, give you some of my insights being a drone business owner, and we'll go from there. Hopefully it'll be a fun episode. Hopefully you'll learn something. Maybe you guys can teach me something. If I say something wrong or I have an opinion that you don't like, message me down below, and maybe we can get on the same wavelength. So let's head on over to the internet and check out DJI's website. That's something when people are talking about the Mavic 3 and they're talking about DJI, I feel like most people say DJI, and I catch myself doing that too, but really it's DJI. And most of the reviews, it seems like if I just listen without specifically picking out the DJI, I feel like people are saying DJI. But anyway, that's not really related to this episode. But Mavic 3, you got to say that it is one good-looking drone. Looks a lot like maybe a little bit bigger version of the Mavic 2, a lot more sleek, a lot more refined. That camera looks amazing. And, you know, they did a great job on this website too. So if you're just listening to this episode, you should head on over to my YouTube channel and check out, I'm kind of going through their presentation on their website, and it's pretty nicely done. That Hasselblad camera, that's the main feature of this drone. You know, that's something that I was kind of disappointed about, to be honest with you. The camera is wonderful. It is a definite improvement to the Mavic 2, but when you get a new drone, you just kind of expect, and I think this is something that us consumers We've been spoiled a lot with technology in the past few years. We're constantly getting new and improved, and it seems like every piece of technology that comes out is getting better and better and better. And so we kind of start to expect things that probably aren't possible at certain price points. And for me, if you go way back into this podcast, I talked about my dream features for this new drone. And some of them, like waterproofing and heated battery, it doesn't look like it made it to this drone. They touched on a lot of the points in the presentation, but some of the points I feel like they left up to, for people to find out later. So let's get into it. Obviously, this Hasselblad camera looks absolutely amazing. It's got 5.1K Apple ProRes, and I don't know if that's just the Cine version or if that's just the Mavic 3. They did improve the obstacle sensing. That's one of the things I touched on that I would like is better obstacle avoidance. However, having said that, it's something that I guess as a drone operator, I don't really use it too often. To be honest, when I'm doing a lot of my drone flights for customer work, a lot of times I shut off the obstacle avoidance sensing features on my drone. And that's just because I can get a lot closer to items. It doesn't stop me when I'm getting close to trees. And sometimes it's nice to have, branches coming through the shot or special revealing shots that wouldn't be, the drone just wouldn't allow it if the obstacle sensing is on. And that's something you got to be very careful about, because if you turn off all the obstacle sensing and you're flying close to a tree, you've got to make sure you know exactly where all the branches are, because they're not going to save you. So one of the things, it's very cool that they improved all that, something that I just kind of expected. And they did. And I don't know if it's going to be as good as like a Skydio, where it's going to be completely autonomous. So if it's doing tracking, that it'll just be able to dodge all the trees and you just won't have to worry about it. If that was the case, I would be very excited about this obstacle sensing. I've thought it would always be very cool if you could just have the drone flying and you're driving your car and you don't have to worry about traffic lights or anything like that. That would be amazing. But obviously you got to keep all your regulations in mind as far as flight over people and, always having visual line of sight when you're doing a drone shot like that. But those are some of the thoughts I had for the omnidirectional sensing that came with this drone. Let's see here. 2 cameras, unlimited possibilities it's talking about. It's got that Hasselblad L2D 20C camera. It's 20 megapixels, 12.8 stops of dynamic range, adjustable aperture of f2.8 to f11, and a 24 millimeter equivalent focal length. And if you've seen any of the content, the sample content from this camera, it is amazing. It talks about the natural color solution. A lot of the pro photographers that I've seen that have reviewed this drone have talked very highly with the color science of the Hasselblad camera. I know a lot of people are like, you know what, it's good enough. We can fix all that in post, but it is kind of nice when it's got natural looking colors right out of the camera. Results that speak. It's showing a picture of a low light condition, and it is amazing. That's one of the things that I feel like I could really improve upon on my Mavic 2 Zoom is the low light capability. I did apply for my night waiver, and I was approved for that. And it's something I really haven't used too much, just because that when you're shooting in low light, a lot of times it doesn't pick up the best photos, and the photos are just kind of mushy and they're tough to edit. And I think with this camera, you'd have much better luck. It talks about the higher dynamic range. this would have been very handy in my last shoot. I woke up very early to get some sunrise shots of a building in town, and the building was facing the direction so the sunrise was coming up behind it. And if you've ever been in that situation as a drone pilot, a lot of times the sky is kind of blown out, and when I say blown out, it usually just looks white, and then the actual subject is looks right, but then no matter what kind of adjusting you do in something like Lightroom, you're not going to get any definition to the sky because there's no information there. With a higher dynamic range, I'm assuming you'll be able to pick out a lot more details in something like that. A larger sensor size keeps images clean in low light, and I touched on that a little bit earlier. So basically, the biggest improvement on this drone is the camera, and it does look amazing. A lot of people are talking about the different packages that you can get with this drone. The Mavic 3, just the base model, the Fly More combo kit, and the Mavic 3 Cine. And the Cine supports Apple ProRes 422, which makes it easier for editing if you're using like Final Cut Pro. For most people, I don't think it's very necessary, and it almost doubles the price, which is fine. I mean, like I said at the start of this podcast, you get what you pay for. If you're someone who uses that ProRes, doubling the price of this drone might not be that big a deal to get that feature. It's got a 28 times hybrid zoom camera that is 162 millimeter equivalent. And it says hybrid zoom because it uses optical zoom and digital zoom. And something I found interesting on one of the reviews I was watching, I can't remember which one it was, but it was talking about the zoom. I think it's optical up to 7 times, but it's not like a steady, smooth zoom through that. It's not like you can zoom 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. It just sounds like it's right to 7 times optical zoom, and then you can zoom through digitally. And if I've got that wrong, someone should correct me in the comments, because I thought, man, that's something that's kind of, it's odd to me, because it seems like on my Mavic 2, it's got a much lower zoom range, but you're able to smoothly zoom through the whole, I guess I don't even know, through the whole process of the zooming, which makes more sense to me. And that's something I was very curious about, this telecamera, because one of the features I really enjoy using on my Mavic 2 Zoom is the Pro Resolution mode. And basically what that's doing is it's using the zoom to go through and take different photos at different focal lengths, and then it smashes them all together to make a high resolution. I think it's like a 48 megapixel equivalent photo. And what I do with that is I take multiple super resolution photos, and then I stitch those together, creating a much higher resolution photo. And those are great for prints. And that's something that I didn't see them talk about, but they didn't really talk about that in the other. I mean, they just briefly touch on that with the Mavic 2 Zoom. So interested to see if they're going to have that feature with this drone. Another thing I heard a lot of people talk about is that a lot of the features are not unlocked yet on this drone, and that's probably the reason I'm going to hold off on buying this one right away, is because I really would like to see all of the features and the flight modes that it has, and it sounds like a lot of that stuff is going to be released in an update in January. Another thing I found odd, they've taken quite a while to go from the Mavic 2 to the Mavic 3, and I thought, you know what, that's odd. I know there's all sorts of technology, and I don't want to bash any engineers at DJI, because I know it's an amazing feat that they completed this drone, but I thought, man, they waited all this time. You'd think they'd wait to release it until they had all of the features being able to be released along with it. That just seems odd to me. It just seems like bad timing. But let's see. It's talking about their vision system, updated safety, very cool new return to home features. It's able to use those sensors to not just always go up to a certain height and then return home. It's able to actually take the shortest distance and work around obstacles to get back to the home location. It's talking about using APSC 5.0. And I've seen a lot of reviews online. It works very good. 46 minutes of flight time. Awesome. Another one of the things that I expect to get better, the battery life. But one of those things that, it is what it is. It doesn't really excite me too much just because most of the time I can get a full drone job complete in one battery. And that's using the Mavic 2 Zoom. And it would be cooler to have more battery life, but not something I necessarily needed. It talks about the extreme precision positioning technology. I saw that used, actually 51 Drones had a phenomenal review of the Mavic 3, and he did a cool test with the Air 2S and the Mavic 2 Pro, I think, and the Mavic 3. And the Air 2S and the Mavic 3 landed basically within the same range of each other, and the Mavic 2 was off a little bit. So very good positioning for the Mavic 3, something that can always be improved upon. Let's see, Wi-Fi 6 quick transfer, Active Track 5.0, master shots. A lot of these things, I actually haven't went through these on the website. I should probably look at that after this podcast and see if they show you all of the features that are going to be coming out in that update, because as of the time of the launch, I don't think the Active Track 5.0 was released, and I don't know if a lot of the master shots that they're talking about on the website was released either. Another cool thing, and I think... I'm not sure about this, but I think that the new DJI RC Pro controller was released with only the Cine pack, but it could be included in the Fly More Combo 2. I'll have to see here if I scroll down a little bit farther. I know a lot of people were talking about the DJI carrying case that comes with the Fly More Combo, and it looks like a very cool bag. I know all the way back to the Mavic Air, they had wonderful carrying cases that came with the Fly More Combo kits. I always use their cases with my drones because it seems like everything just fits in there so well, and they're very high quality. Something that was a little odd is the DJI Mavic 3 storage cover. I thought in all of the leaks and stuff that they were going to be getting rid of, the gimbal protector. I thought there was going to be a lock on that gimbal, but obviously that didn't make it into this drone. And a lot of people had a kind of a love-hate relationship with this new storage cover. They said it locks in the gimbal quite well, but they didn't really like how it covered up the propellers, and they felt like there could have been a better latch system to hold those in. I do think it's pretty cool that now included with at least the Fly More Combo kit and the Cine package is the ND filter set. That's something that would come in very handy with, flying in bright conditions and all sorts of different situations. Let's see here. DJI Mavic 3 from $2,199. Now, I think the Cine package, let's see here. If I go to Cine package is close to $5,000, and the Fly More Combo kit is close to $3,000. Very pricey units, but if you're looking for another great drone that's in a cheaper price point, you could always go to the Mavic Air 2S, which is also a very good option for drones. And it's something I hate to be critical of DJI because, they are seems like top of the line kind of the Apple of drones, if you will. And I've always had, of the DJI drones that I've kept, and as many of you know, I did have issues with the FPV drone, and that was, well, I just had a bunch of issues with that when I got it, and without getting into more details on that, that whole situation was totally frustrating, and that's something where I kind of lost some confidence in DJI in that whole situation, how they handled it. It was just so frustrating to me, but at the same time, I got to think back to building my drone business on the Mavic Air, just starting out, and then more recently on the DJI Mavic 2 Zoom, which has been a phenomenal drone for me. And this Mavic 3 would be a great addition to my fleet of drones. I probably will not be buying this drone right away. I do want to see all of the features that come out with it in the future. I know they're going to be able to release a lot of stuff over firmware updates, and I'm excited to see some more testing. If you've followed my channel at all, you know I'm very picky when it comes to products. I want things to work right. I want them to have good features. I love watching all the reviews that people do on YouTube before I purchase an item. And I think I could buy this drone with confidence, knowing that it's going to have the absolute best image quality for a drone of this size. And I'm really excited to see what people are going to create with this drone, because I think it's an amazing piece of technology. I'm trying to think of if there's anything else I was very excited about that I didn't touch on yet. We've been waiting a long time for this thing. It's fun to finally have it out, fun to see all the reviews of people using this. I do like their new propellers. I think they're a little bit larger than the Mavic 2. The sound is a little bit quieter because of the larger propellers, and it's kind of interesting. They've got a soft, rubbery tip on the end of them, and I don't know if they did that for safety or if they did that for the sound, but I think it's kind of a cool design. And let's see here. I thought I saw something about a module that you can get on the drone that makes it cellular, and at that point, it improves the range of the drone. And you know, for me, the range of the Mavic 2 was already good enough. I mean, with the certifications I have, you have to have line of sight at all times. So the added range on the drones doesn't really excite me too much, even though I can see a scenario where people could have this cellular module on it and they could be using that for search and rescue. And I don't know if all of those rules apply with a line of sight, as far as if it's you know, a life and death situation, if someone with emergency clearance could maybe fly out of range. I feel like that's something that would probably be beneficial to people who are way out in the woods, or a scenario like that, like someone's lost, they need to find them. Having that capability would probably be a good thing. So it's amazing to me, the technology they've put into this drone, and it's amazing to me that a consumer like myself can feel like, I don't know if it's that big of an upgrade. I don't know if I'm going to be purchasing this, because it is amazing, all of the stuff they put into this thing. It looks truly amazing, and I'm excited to see more about it. One of the things I always think, I know if you're a Part 107 certified drone pilot, if I go back here and share my screen, you can see these drones, and these drones always have lighting systems. You can see in this picture that I'm showing, if you're online, you'll have to look up on my YouTube channel if you're just listening. But they've got these LEDs in the drone, and if you're a Part 107 certified pilot, you know that they have to be visible for 3 statute miles. And I always think, why don't they just incorporate those strobes right into the drone so you don't have to buy the extra lighting systems for them? And I don't know if these are lights that can be seen for 3 statute miles, but I think that would be something that would be cool to have integrated into the drone, because it's always a pain to have to Velcro an extra lighting system onto your drone. And I always feel like that kind of throws off the aerodynamics of the drone. And so hopefully these lights this time around are the correct strobe lights that can be seen for 3 statute miles. Let me see here. I'm trying to see if I forgot anything. I'm also curious to see if that cellular module is compatible with remote ID. And the first thing I saw, or the first thing I thought of when I saw that module is, oh, this is all going to have to do with remote ID. And I bet it has something to do with it in the future. I'm sure they're going to talk about that. But I'm guessing that's going to be the thing that you're going to have to strap onto your drone to be compliant with remote ID, which is something I really want to hear more about. I want to see, I've talked about it before. I just want to be compliant. So it would be nice to hear the final rulings on all of that and just get it incorporated into our everyday lives as a drone pilot. I want to know what you guys think of this drone. Are you going to be purchasing it? What are some cool features you're excited about? Maybe I didn't touch on all the features. In the future, if I purchase this drone, I'll obviously be doing a lot of reviews on it. I'll probably be talking a lot about it. And if you guys don't like drone stuff, I'm sorry if this episode absolutely bored you out of your mind. But I feel like I always have to go back and talk about drones just because that's kind of how I started my channel. That's how I started my drone business. And it's a lot of fun to talk about. It's a fun hobby. It's a fun business. If you guys don't have any interest in drones, or if you aren't interested in getting your Part 107, I hope you learned something from this episode, at least, if nothing else, the technology that goes into something like a drone. And so I'm curious on a lot of things. I'm also curious to hear how much it would be to insure this drone through something like Skywatch, if you were to do the hull insurance. I'm sure all of that goes up. I'm also curious to see what the DJI Mavic Care refresh would be on this. That's something that I've purchased with all of my drones, and it seems like a very good program. I've had good luck with it. Luckily, I haven't had too many reasons to send my drone back. I know when I first started, I had to send my Mavic Air back for something, and I got it back in a very timely manner, and it was basically brand new. It was probably a brand new unit. And that was one of those times I was happy I purchased that insurance. With the Mavic 2, I did purchase the insurance, and I didn't have to use it after 2 years. So I was able to add on another year, and I still didn't have to use it. So I guess I paid for that insurance for nothing. But the second you don't pay for that insurance, something would probably go wrong, and you wish you would have bought it. So I think that's a pretty good program. At least the one thing that it did provide, so I guess I didn't waste my money on that insurance. It did provide peace of mind. So if something would have happened, I would have had that peace of mind, and that is well worth the money. So thank you guys for listening. I look forward to what this podcast has coming up in the future. If you guys want to hear something that I haven't talked about in a while, or you like certain formats, if you want to hear from a favorite content creator of yours, let me know. Remember to subscribe if you're on YouTube. Leave me comments and reviews. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and thank you for listening to this week's episode. Thanks for coming along for the ride. I've been having a lot of fun, and I'm glad you're coming along with me. We'll talk to you next week.
I'm